And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire is to help amazing designers find great players who love their game and help amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but the most fun of them is sitting down with the creator of a game to play that game, which is exactly what we were doing tonight. We are playing Grok, which is one of my favorite words in the Martian language, but is also a game I'm very excited to sit down and play. Rather than me tell you about it, let's hear from Lester. Lester, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, but also tell us about Grok.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitch pretty much anywhere under Les Tortoise. So it's LESTORTOISE, so Les Tortoise. But yeah, so Grok is an adventure gonzo RPG. Borrows a lot of tenets from a hodgepodge of narrative games and OSR type games. So it's a bit of an amalgamation, but it has its own little twists and things in there. But it really emphasizes the ability of players to be in their character and see the weird world through their eyes and make it really weird. I'm sure that'll be evident as we play.
Awesome. And we usually leave all questions until the end, but I do need to know if you're willing to disclose it. Why the name Grok?
So the first time I came through Grok, it obviously is an alien language, has roots in an alien language, right? But I mean, going through all the Reddit subs and the history of ttrpg designers and fandoms, they have their own little vocabulary, and Grok has put its way into the RPG community's vocabulary. Yeah. And it's always used as the same thing as the Martian language is a deep-rooted understanding of something, right? You intuit the meaning of something. And so it's an awesome word. It's embedded in the community, and one of the the design goals of the game was to have a rule set to where you could read through it, understand it, and you could just play. You don't have to reference back to the rule book constantly to look up subsystems or weird situation rules. It's easy to understand how it works.
Awesome. Are you worried about the Highland Estate coming after you at all?
I guess we'll see.
We'll see. It's going to be good press either way. Even if you have to change the name, that's good press. I'm just saying. Well, I love it. I'm super excited to play. I'm super excited about that. Sorry to pelt you with questions right off the bat. It's not normally a thing we do, but it's Grok is a touchstone in my heart. So with that said, let's meet some of our other players tonight. We've got Zach joining us for the first time. Zach, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where folks can find you online?
Hi, everyone. Name is Zach Burr. You can find me online at most places with the handle Zach Burr, ZACBIR. I'm a player and GM of a lot of different systems and a lot of different groups, genres. And I like interesting, far out, post-apocalyptic science fantasy kind of stuff. So I saw Grok and I was immediately intrigued and wanted to jump right in.
Yeah. Zach and I were talking over in the Necropolis Discord server. I just saw Zach talking about being excited about this, and I was like, I'm playing it in a couple of weeks and haven't booked anyone yet. And if you want to just come play, I would love to have you. So I'm super excited you're here with us. Next up, we have William. William, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online.
Hi, I'm pretty easy to find online, just like Zach. I use my name, Galaini, G-A-L-A-I-N-I. I'm a narrative designer and novelist, but writer overall. But yeah, you can just Google Galaini, look me up on Twitter, Facebook, or I have my own website, williamljgalaini.com. The LJ is a long story, but yeah, I'm easy to find.
Awesome. And as always, you can find us at Plus One EXP across all social media platforms. If you're a designer who wants to come on and play, let us know. If you're somebody who wants to check out our games, you can go to +1.games or check us out at Plus One EXP. Anywhere that we're not Tony Plus One, because at Plus One EXP was taken, only two places, Twitch being one of them. With that said, we always use a couple safety tools whenever we're playing on stream, just to keep our game focused and on track and make sure everybody feels the space they need to be able to have a good time. Those are the lines, veils, and the X card, unless the system dictates another one. Lines are things that may happen in the world of our game, but don't happen in the course of our play of it. Veils are things that may happen in play, but we kind of handle in a specific context. We may fast forward through them, fade to black, just address them within a certain context. And then the X card's the ability for anybody to say or type or message X to the group at any point in time to pause the game. We'll identify what the issue is. It may just be something that's confusing. It may be a need to pause, have a conversation, or it may be something that they find objectionable. We'll remove that content for it with no explanation and move forward in a different direction. We always have a strong line against sexual violence on the channel, but is there any other lines or veils that people want to add? Cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say I can't imagine us hitting any of those lines. I mean, I know we all have multiple, but I very much trust the content here. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of most isms unless they're setting up bad people for us to punch. But
so a veil on isms, in the veil being only for punching. And so, and then we, those are living conversations, so we can always come back to them more if we need to. Also, we have an open door policy, so if you see us eat, drink, see somebody who needs to get up and or talk to somebody off screen real quick, it's all normal human stuff. If you need to eat, drink, or talk to somebody near you, I hope you take the time to do that while we're on stream also too. With that said, Lester, I'm going to hand things over to you to get us started playing.
Okay. So I think maybe I'll just give a quick overview of what the Grok world is like, or at least the version we're going to be playing in, and then we'll do like a character introduction, so everyone knows kind of who generally we are, as much as we know who we are. So I'll give you a quick. So we're going to be playing on the planet Grok. Grok was once a haven for trans-dimensional migrants and a bastion for advanced technomancy until a cataclysm occurred and rendered it a desolate planet. So it's very much a post-apocalyptic world. So now there are feral monstrosities that haunt the chasms and the underworld underneath the in the crust of the hollow planet. There are cities that float among the clouds that were rendered out from the earth during the cataclysm. There's a massive derelict space station that encapsulates most of the planet. But during the cataclysm, big pieces of it sloughed off and fell down to the earth. So there are big voids in what was pretty much a dome that surrounded the planet. And what's left is its fuel is now pretty dirty. So there's so any area on the planet surface that is underneath the intact parts of that structure, which is called the simulacrum, is like bathed in this magic phosphorescent radiation, which is really bad news. And so we're kind of many generations in the future after the cataclysm. So there's a new day is dawning. There's civilizations that are growing. There are many different types of civilizations that populate the different floating islands throughout the planet. There have been evolution of the monstrosities down in the chasms in the underworld, and so there's a lot of things happening as this world starts. It's a new age. So I think we'll introduce characters, and then I'll throw you into where you're starting. So who wants to go? Who wants to introduce your character first?
I introduce my character first. I'm Triskelion Bramar. I'm the 23rd Duchess of Ranch in exile, as we have been for 23 generations. I am no one knows exactly where Ranch is.
It's hidden.
It's hidden somewhere
in a valley.
We think
maybe?
somewhere in a valley.
Yeah.
But it hasn't stopped the last 23 generations of Duchy from trying to reclaim their lands. Many members of the Duchy claim to have come close. Triskelion is not one of them. I am far more excited about the quest to recover the 23rd, the Duchy of Ranch, than I am about actually finding it. Charming and generally well beloved by those who meet. I am physically inept and a little slow on the uptake, but much beloved by those around me. I bear all the items of my lineage with honor, but I really don't care that nobody else cares about my ancestral claims, mainly because people don't know where Ranch is. Just to be clear, I am the Duchess of Ranch. Triskelion uses he/him pronouns. Again, no one's entirely sure. It kind of peppered white, tunic bound up around the waist, a long kind of iron rod at their hip, and a large green cap on top of their head. Human-ish in presentation. But that's Triskelion Bramar, the 23rd Duchess of Ranch in exile.
That's so beautiful. Thank you.
I'm playing a character named Burzo Freniger. He is a Maître Exasperanda. Formerly a quantum psychologist, he's taken up the mantle of wandering indigent philosopher. His motivation is to create strife, because his particular brand of philosophy says that in order to expose the truth, you have to frustrate people so that they rise above the sort of petty falsehoods that they comfort their lives with. He is semi-translucent, bald, humanoid, vaguely humanoid, and wears chiffon sort of robes and wears jelly sandals. So he likes to keep the semi-transparent translucency to his artifacts of clothing as well. He has with him, he carries like inside him his torchbearer named Adso, and he can turn light on or off for him, and it basically the light exudes from Burzo. He's not terribly strong. The sort of jelly sack that he keeps in is probably a little bit it's a little bit weak, but he's very smart and moderately socially adept.
I got to know, just for clarity's sake, are the sandals made out of jelly, or are they the 1980s jelly
They're
sandals?
Definitely they're the dude sandals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right.
Okay. I am playing a team of about 120 small crawfish inhabiting a aquarium mech that is dressed as a person. The crawfish have left their abode. They are explorers. They're hoping to understand this bipedal world that surrounds them, and they think they are passing. They're wearing together a stitched up tracksuit that was clearly pulled off of multiple dead bodies and put together, given the stains all over it. And the face on the front is just drawn on and constantly holds a vacant kind of smile. And whenever you approach this particular teetering character, they introduce themselves as Mr. Person Man. That is all for now, but a few of the things might come out of them later. Their main goal, though, is to explore, take notes, record everything with their recording devices of what they experience.
Right.
Classic adventuring party. Classic adventuring
Yeah,
party.
I mean, we could have gotten a little away from the fantasy tropes, guys, but I guess we'll deal with it. I guess I'll have to bring the gonzo tonight. Thanks. I'll do the heavy lifting. Okay, so I can't think of a good reason necessarily why you all wouldn't be together.
Obviously, these are people I've recruited into my retinue to help me find the Duchy of Ranch while I'm in exile.
You may be the closest thing to an actual human that Mr. Person Man has found as well. So
where the ranch water flows freely.
You know what they say? When in ranch,
When in ranch,
Dip.
eat as the people do.
put it on everything.
Do they? Is that what they say? Are you sure?
Well, I haven't been there, so I don't know what they say.
I'm skeptical.
All right. So yeah, I suppose you all are wandering the wastes looking for. Oh God, you're all wandering the waste looking for ranch, the hidden valley of
The
ranch.
hidden valley of ranch.
And for some reason, either you lost track of time or where you were, or there's a shift in the simulacrum, the space station that revolves around the planet. But you realize that the wall of radiation is approaching you, and it's going to be on you pretty soon. You can see, so you're in an expansive salt flat, right? So the ground is cracked and dry, and so it looks like the ground is made out of like a bunch of flat, irregularly shaped pavers, right? Because the earth is just crusted and cracked. Off in the far distance, you can see a floating isle hovering out. And as the wall of radiant haze is approaching you, you see a small object whizzing through the air sporadically in your direction from the wall. You can't quite make out what it is yet.
Can I try and scan it from this distance?
Do you have scanners?
Yeah, that's one of my resources.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, it's easy enough just to use it. So you pick up that it's obviously a flying object. It's manned by 3 entities. And it seems to be propelled by its own volition. That's the word I'm looking for, I think.
Yeah.
And as it gets closer, you can see it looks like a slightly larger than normal boot with wings.
Person man. What is that thing?
Oh, shoe! And that the voice modulator is so, 1950s radio announcer.
I say a shoe.
A shoe with wings.
A shoe with wings. Shoes
Person
don't
man
have
points
wings.
with both fingers. Just
Have you ever seen such a thing?
on a foot.
Burzo.
Seems rather constricting.
It's not a sandal, that's right. Do you want me to flag it down?
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, so Person Man just starts flailing his arms uncoordinatedly because each one's operated by a different couple of crayfish.
Okay. It's heading in your general direction. So with you flailing around, it starts making an indirect path to you, and it eventually makes its way to you. As you're waiting, the wall of radiation is approaching you. At the rate, you think you have maybe 15, 20 minutes until it's at your guys' location.
We'll die soon.
So the shoe is flapping these, dove wings in the air, and like the soles are like flapping with it. And it looks to be, about this big. It's a relatively large boot with wings.
I've never seen a soul look so tired.
It's a normal large boot with wings. You guys know what I'm talking about.
I've never seen a soul look so tired.
Oh.
And
Two-thirds my crawfish groan at that joke.
A small bearded person's head pops out of the top of the boot, and it says,
"Oh." I'm going to mimic back exactly what they blurped at us with my voice modulator.
Another head pops up and looks at you fused. And then another second later, a third head pops up, and something drops out of the shoe down to the ground towards you. It looks like a very large hand whittled ear.
Hand whittled ear?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
And Person Man's going to reach down and pick it up.
okay. Yeah, it looks like a hand, a little ear. There looks to be like some like an adhesive to the back side of the ear, and in the ear part there's a. It looks like there's a hinge to where you can pull the front part out.
Burzo, philosophically, what do you think this signifies?
Well, I believe they're entreating us to give our opinions on the manner of their flying perambulations. They want to hear us opinionate.
I see they've come seeking my wise counsel. Not the worst I've seen. Pretty okay overall, I'd say.
Well spoken, Duchess.
And a second later, the hinged part of the ear opens up, so the whole ear like bloop, and Mr. Person Man, you can see because it's in your hand, an even smaller person inside. You look inside, and it looks like a gigantic room inside, and it's just lined with books. And there's a little person there, and he's just looking at you like this, and he has this big book in his hand.
Oh,
Well, it's tiny. It's big to him.
I'm not sure that works that way. And I'll show it to the other guys.
And he runs back into the ear library.
A classic collection of frustrating counter proposals. Clearly a holy place.
Seems like you may be an academic such as yourself.
The man walks back up to the opening of the ear with another book, and he has a megaphone in his hand. He says, "Would you like me to translate?"
Translate what? I can understand us just fine.
All right, thank you. And he closes the ear.
Yes, clearly, some distant cousin of the Exasperanda.
Yes.
He knows his stuff.
Do we just completely destroy?
No.
No,
So
in
you-
improv, they say yes and. In RPGs, they say, no, GM, try
No.
again.
No, you're good. So
Are the heads still attentive?
they start popping back into their shoe.
Okay.
But I still have the ear, right?
Yep. And a second later, they start whizzing off away from you because they're obviously trying to get away from the wall of radiation. And as you see them trail off, you can see that it looks like potentially where they're heading to. You can see a glint of something protruding out of the ground in the direction they're headed, which seems to be you might be able to reach it before the wall hits you.
Yeah, we don't want to be in the radiation.
Not again, at least.
Yeah, it's not without, I don't know, an umbrella.
So Person Man's going to start walking towards the structure with his head twisting perfectly backwards. Let us go! And then I'm going to put the ear, the adhesive part, on my forehead.
Is this wave of radiation, is it giving off its own light? Is it
Yeah. So it is.
Kind
It's
of
giving
blue.
off. This particular wave is giving off like a purplish green hue, which, from experience, tells you that's extremely potent.
okay? Burzo is going to activate his glyph of anti-friction and basically glide along on his jelly sandals over the rough, cracked earth in the direction of the glistening, flashing thing.
Awesome.
Keeping pace with ninjas, not rushing ahead or anything, but simply gliding.
Okay. Am I to assume that Triskelion is
Yeah, coming along behind him, talking a lot about the horse he used to have, but to no avail. The horse does not appear.
shame? Okay. You eventually make it. You're only moving at a moderate pace, but you eventually make it. But then the wall is really only minutes behind you at this point. By the time you get to whatever this glint was, by the time you get there, you can make out what it is. It's an octahedron shape, so it's a 3D diamond type shape. It's about the size of a large house, for reference. And it's about half buried in the dirt, so one of the pointy ends is sticking straight up. It looks like it had fallen or crashed and it got embedded. And all the walls are sleek. The outside walls are a sleek metal surface, hence the glint. And you can just make out a hatch on one side of the upper surface of the structure.
Are our friends in the flying boot here?
It looks like they kept moving past. They must have, so they're not here. Maybe they went to the aisle beyond.
Well, more.
They're obviously able to move a lot faster than you all were.
Oh yeah. Excellent. Well, I'll go up and I'll rap on the hatch with my pneumatic exo arm. Excuse me, hello. You've got some visitors. Ready to come inside, please.
You hear no response.
Typical.
Maybe you should announce me formally to get them to open the door.
My liege, forgive. The Duchess of Ranch demands entrance into your metallic domicile.
And you can hear as you're ranting about the official entrance of Triskelion, you can hear the din, like the of the wall of radiation approaching.
I say, hold on, let's try this. I open the door. Did you hear him?
Perhaps they would hear us better inside, my lord.
Perhaps. The door's already open. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and head in.
Okay. Yeah. So it's looks like it's a hatch door, and it looks like it drops down to a floor. So it'd be a short drop down to the floor, but it's reasonable to make.
Could we reach the hatch from the floor and close it again behind us?
Not quite.
I could do something about that. How far of a drop?
About 10 feet.
No, I can't. Sorry.
I've got a 20-foot extendable, retractable pole, possible to like hook onto it up at the top, and then like lower myself down, and then pull it closed behind.
Yeah, it might be difficult to get some purchase though. So give me, especially timing it right before the wall hits you, since it's right on you.
Yes.
So give me an action roll to figure that out.
Oh,
so it's
boy.
gonna be it's gonna be physical.
Physical and
you'll get an advantage since you're using one of your assets, so your extendable pole. So you can roll 2 of those dice. And if you can think of anything else, you can do that as well.
And Zach, you said you're not very physical also. So
I am not very physical.
Is this a D4 for you, or what is this?
But it is a D4. I will do my best. But my advantage gives me it just gives me the better of the two. I may have to exert some effort here. I don't really get winded being a sort of a bag of protoplasm, but it could be that I pull myself sort of out of shape, and I'll be a little more flopsy and it'll take me a while for
her pleasure.
Yeah,
exactly, for my protoplasmic encasing to like retract and get some semblance of
Yeah, that
strength.
works. And just
All
for, I think that's excellent. And for future reference, you can always apply effort to like your assets too. So like you could say like maybe 5 feet of your extendable pole got broken off as you're closing the latch, something like that.
Gotcha.
So that's always an option too. Yeah, that's great. So you can roll the 2d4 and then take the higher one.
2d4. I got a 2 for the highest one, but then I roll again and add to that.
Yep.
I only topped out at a 3.
Oh man, you got a 1
Even
on
with
that
effort.
Oh. Okay.
Just for people watching, so you had advantage, so you rolled 2d4s. And then you
I rolled a 2 and a 1, so I
you-
took my 2.
So
and then I
you
rolled
exerted
another
yourself. And you rolled a 1. And our target number is what again, Lester?
So to get at least a normal success, you have to get above 4.
Above 4. Awesome.
Right.
Awesome.
So I think I'm holding on to it on my pole, and my pole extends, and then probably stops, and then I just kind of like noodle drop down to the floor, and the doors and the hatch is still open.
Yeah.
Oh, you failed.
Well, I'm down here.
Yeah. So maybe right, like stretch Armstrong or whatever makes most sense for your. Yeah.
I say just a moment. Let me see that, and I'm going to figure out what the hand of ranch is right now. I'd like to borrow your pole, Berzo, and I'm going to unscrew my left hand and take it off and attach it to the end of the pole.
Awesome.
Okay.
And now we have determined that the hand of ranch just means that I can take my hand off and still use it. If that works.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's perfect.
Screw it onto the end of the pole and reach up and close the thing. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier.
Because it was beneath you, obviously.
Now we're beneath it, so it's totally fine.
All right. So yeah, it'll be another physical, and you're using his asset and yours, so you get 2 advantage. So you roll your normal die and then 2 extra dice.
Are we also great news? Great news is I also have a D4.
I was going to say, are we all weaklings? Because this could be, yeah.
All right.
Who's the tank?
Party
Good
bounce.
game.
Well, you got a tank on your head.
Well, great news is that I rolled a 4.
All right.
So is it do I have to roll over a 4?
You have to roll over a 4. So
I need to apply some effort here is what we're saying.
Yep. If you apply an effort, you're guaranteed success.
All right. Let's see. What kind of effort do I want to apply? Let me look at my character sheet.
You could break his pole.
It's not my asset. Is that okay?
I mean, you took it from him.
You
It's
broke
true.
another man's pole.
I can't do much about it.
That's true. While doing this, I'll be like, huzzah! Like I'll bring it down. I'll be screwing my hand back on, and then I'll go, huzzah, and like smash the pole against it, which is actually what. Like it was closed but not latched at all, and like when I go huzzah and break the pole, it actually like latches down and chops part of it off outside.
Awesome.
And so now I'm going to roll another D4 and add that. Correct?
Yeah, you can.
It's not going to get me anywhere extra, but
yeah, I mean, you could if you didn't have a D4, if you had anything better, you could potentially get like a yes and if you rolled over 10. But with just the one effort, there's no hopes of that. So
because we're trying to get it, so 1 to 4 is no and 5 to 9 is yes and 10 plus is yes. Sorry, 5 to 9 is yes, and then over 10 is yes and. Cool.
Right. Yeah, and so just kind of like the mechanical bits is when you use effort, you get to add a die. You get to add the values together, but it costs you a condition. Something bad happens. Right? So that kind of.
Yeah, I hand you back your 15-foot pole. Exactly as I received it, in perfect working
and
condition.
a 5-foot pole.
No, that's outside. That's outside.
Oh, it's outside. Perfect.
Maybe if when we go back out, if we go back out.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I spilled that one for the souls that have who departed in this place.
Break one off for the homies.
Correct.
So yeah, you're in it's a roughly 20 by 20 white paneled room. It's immaculately clean, except for the little scuff mark on the hatch from the pole. And there's a single door on one of the walls. It looks very sophisticated. There's a small control panel next to it with some little punch buttons. And as soon as the latch closes, you hear a intruder alert, intruder alert.
Ooh,
And
intruders. We should be on the lookout.
Yes. People are always trying to take my claim to the land by taking my life. Happened to the 16th and 22nd duchy. I almost said 23rd, and that's me.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And a moment later, you can see the panels on the ceiling start to come up and then retract into themselves, and you can see that there are a plethora of spikes above those panels that slowly start to descend.
I'm going to go over to the control panel and just jab at it some and say,
God.
don't worry, we can handle the intruders. We've got this.
Unfortunately, there's no well, you know what? Give me a mental. Let's see if you actually press the right buttons or not.
Oh no! What's your mental?
My mental's a 6.
Better?
I'm perfectly seasoned. Trying to reclaim my land.
Peppercorn.
I'm the Duchess of Ranch. I'm exiled. I'm dashing AF also too. No, I rolled a 2. So, no, yeah, we've got this. I guess we'll handle these spike intruders.
You actually do hear a voice come off through the panel. It says, correction, you are intruders, and the spikes start moving faster towards you.
Yeah. Mr. Person Man will be like, may I be of assistance?
Of course, always.
Stand there waiting. And then I tromp over.
I wish you would.
I tromp over, and you see, in the you can slightly see through where the eyes would be of Mr. Person Man. All these little crayfish, little antennas and eyes wiggle up and look through his eyes, and he starts hitting buttons. And I assume that would be a mental.
Yep.
Okay. I rolled a 5 because I have D10 for mental. They're smart crayfish.
Nice. Yeah. So what's your intention? What are you trying?
My intention is to do anything to stop the spikes.
Anything.
Okay.
Anything, just so short it out. Try and change our status to guest. Something.
Okay. You're able to hack it because you have little robotic finger attachments.
Yeah, the fingers have electrical attachments for data ports and stuff.
Okay, so yeah, you're able to net runner this data pad to an extent, and you're able to log in as guest user to where the spikes stop where they were and start ascending back into the panel.
As the spikes come down, you're like guest, and it's like username taken. Guest 01, username taken. Guest 02, username taken. Guest 03, username accepted. We're good.
ASDF.
You've hacked the Gibson, and I see the AI has got a Gibson label on it.
Nice. I appreciate the reference.
Um,
Yeah, and so when you do that, you also hear as the presumably the seal of the door broke as well.
Huzzah! We stopped them.
Of course, Your Majesty.
You may
Nearly required a little persuasion. Thank you, Person Man.
You may
Person
announce me
man
again now.
nods at both of you, but you see one of these eyes like twitch just a little bit.
Like two
And you
crawfish
know, if
swimming
you
in
look
there.
through the eyes, the crayfish are having a serious debate right now. So the door proceeding forward unlocked, right?
Yeah, seems to be.
All right, you go first. And so Person Man opens the door for you guys.
Feel free to announce me and I shall enter. Ah,
Hear ye, Triskelion, 23rd Duchess of Ranch approaches.
and I will sashay through the door, swishing my tunic around me stylishly.
You
Bend
walk
an
in
ear
after that.
and listen.
You walk in. You're immediately welcomed by a. It's a very similar room, but there's like a pedestal in the middle, and there are two bots. So one looks like it's a mini brass pipe organ on like small wheels. So it looks like it's on a small dolly. And then there's a vacuum bot with a long trunk-like vacuum that's being up the corners. And it's about the size of maybe a dishwasher. And they both like stopped, like the one goes mid-suction as you enter the room after that grand entrance.
No, it's fine. Continue on, pay us no mind.
Welcome, guest 03.
Yes, I am a guest of guest 03. You may call me guest Triskelion Bryn Mawr, 23rd Duchess of Ranch in exile. This is guest 03, and I like hold out my hand behind me.
All guests must be logged into the system. User not identified.
Oh,
And then you hear the vacuum revving up in high gear.
I'm winding my arms back in quickly so they don't just like flop on the floor.
Person Man, Mr. Person Man's going to walk over to the vacuum. Does it assault him right away, or is it just revving up?
It's revving up, but if a robot could be angry, I guess he's probably angry.
this is the most aggressive Roomba we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Okay, here. How about this? Person Man's going to tap with its finger the door ear that's on his forehead. I just said that sentence. Does the door of the ear open up?
Yep. And the old miniature man says, "Can I help you?" Through his megaphone, "Can I help you?"
Hi! We don't want to die. What is this? And I'll just do this gesture of the whole room.
I only do language.
Finger will go up and close the door on him.
Okay. What about Burzo or Triskelion?
I would yes, I would like to sort of bluster my way through, employing my quantum psychologist trait to convince the Roombas that we are all part of the like triple aspect of guest 03. That's what the 03 actually references.
That's pretty good.
The three faces of guest 03.
That's
excellent.
good.
That's excellent. Give me a social. And while you're doing that, is Triskelion doing anything?
Triskelion, it's, what Triskelion is doing isn't so much the importance. It's the way Triskelion is doing it. And it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's fabulous. And he's doing it a lot. But it's not helpful at all.
Yeah. But
I barely came through with a 5.
All right. Excellent. User identified, and then they starts sucking up the corner, and the pipe organ starts going on about so as I was saying, the pneumatic plenum can't provide enough mechanical, and he just starts rambling off some mechanical robotic mumbo jumbo.
Log messages or something. Yes.
Well,
in some new voice.
they obviously recognize me here. Perhaps we're closer to the duchy than I thought.
And now that you have your Barents, you're not being potentially assaulted by a large Roomba. The room looks pretty much vacant, except for the door that you had entered through, but the door had closed behind you.
Are there any windows to the outside?
Not that you can see, but like it's similarly paneled as the other one, to where everything is like these square panels that make up the room.
Just out of curiosity, how does the inside of this space jive with our knowledge of the outside of it? So, like, we dropped into a room. That room was squarish in shape. It's a roughly octagonal diamond structure. So, I'm assuming that the rooms kind of come in towards the middle.
I think it's a big 8-sided die, right?
Yeah, it's a big 8-sided die. You would think it would, but now that you're thinking of it, the shapes of these rooms, the dimensions make no sense.
Okay, excellent. Exactly what I wanted to hear. And you said one of them is like a pipe organ and the other one is a vacuum cleaner.
Yep, that's right. And the door behind you had shut, and you hear the same as it reseals itself.
Excellent.
And of course, there's the same panel at the door as there was on the other side.
I'm going to go up and tickle the old brassies, which is what I call the keys on this organ robot.
Okay. Well, let me write that name down.
You're going to molest the... Wow.
Whoa. No, absolutely not. I'm going to play this instrument. The old brassies. Tickle the old brassies, as you know.
Enthusiastic consent, Your Majesty.
Careful which notes you hit.
I'll even ask. I'll give it a little may I? I'll wiggle my hands over it.
User identified. Permission granted.
Now that is some god awful dirty talk.
I mean, I feel like as the Duchess of Ranch, I'm probably classically trained.
You probably are.
A wide number of
chopsticks, at least.
Is this mental? What am I doing?
It depends on your intent. What are you trying to do?
My intent is to play this is classic video game dungeon logic of there's no doors in sight. We've got something that we essentially have something that sucks and something that blows. We have an organ creature and a vacuum creature. I am going to try to play the tune that will open the doors. I don't actually know what that is. So I'm just going to play a jaunty Duchy of Ranch jingle.
Okay. I think it's just going to be a social, since you're not attempting to like hack the mainframe with a keyboard.
All I wanted to hear was it's a social. That's great.
All right.
And I get advantage because it's from the Duchy of Ranch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I rolled a 10 then.
Wow.
Wow.
That's excellent.
Yeah, you.
Okay. All right, so that's a yes and. So your intent was to find
my intent as a player was to play the magical song that opened the doors.
Right.
I don't know if that exists or not. But as a character, it was to play a jaunty tune on this robot. I could also, as a player, settle for playing music in a way that would help me identify this. Maybe I'm doing a set of scales to kind of see how the room responds to me using this creature melodically.
No, I think the jaunty tune is great. So I think what would happen is, as you're playing, the song of your homeland ranch. Oh, God, I wish I knew like a ranch dressing.
I don't know if they have a jingle. I can't think of it.
I
know.
They have to, and I can't play it on stream, but I can absolutely look up ranch jingle.
Yeah, if you can hum it or something, that would be awesome.
Yeah, take down request
because I need this level of immersion in my games.
Ranch dressing lyric jingle, Hidden Valley Ranch commercial. Hold on, we're getting closer. I can't play it because I will get taken down. Description: families that doesn't help me. There's a place called Hidden Valley Ranch where kids not only eat their vegetables but can't get enough. Hidden Valley Ranch makes vegetables delectable. Now rediscover the delectable taste that could only come from Hidden Valley, the original ranch.
You might get some sponsor money.
The Tales of Your Majesty. That
cauliflower salad eating Hidden Valley, the original Duchy of Ranch.
God, this reminds me really.
That's better than Raid Shadowlands, Red Legends, or NordVPN as your sponsor, man.
Yeah, this really reminds me of Demolition Man, where like Taco Bell takes over.
Enjoy your ranch.
Look, something everybody should know about me, regardless of where you stand on your feelings about capitalism. There's nothing I love better than weird brand stuff. Weird brand stuff is 100% my thing. I build games around it on a regular basis, and if I have an ability after I write down something like Duchess of Ranch for no foreseeable reason, 100% that's going to become a brand identity thing later on. So I'm very excited to explore that. That was also the text of the Hidden Valley commercial. I didn't listen to the music. We can all listen to it on a break or after the fact.
All right.
But yeah, I play through it and I sing along a little bit.
All right. Yeah, and as you're playing the Hidden Valley jingle, you notice as you're playing, once you get certain notes, the notes like lock on the keyboard, and you go to play it again, they don't play, and so you keep playing, but you just keep modulating up and up and up with the tune, and then different keys lock into position as you play until you're like in a really high register that you have no reason you cannot sing.
Normally I would be down here, but right now I'm up here.
My whole protoplasmic body is
it's quivering.
Oh God, that's so perfect. All right, so I think this is the and. So he ends up hitting these different frequencies in a pattern to where your arms undulate back into position, and your arms are corrected again, right? And once another key locks on the little brass organ, you hear the door go, the same door that you came through, and it unseals.
Well, it's not exactly what I wanted, but it's pretty close. Hey, you're looking good again. I say.
Thank you, Your Majesty. Yes, I feel a deciliter lighter, more robust.
Well, I appreciate you letting me tickle the old brassies. I apparently seem to have broken some of them. I apologize. I hope that's not a permanent condition. But thank you.
Excellently played, Your Excellency.
Now, was this the only door in or out of this room?
That we know.
They could see.
I believe that will take us back to where we came from, which could be better.
Mr. Person Man goes over and opens it, but I have an idea what might be on the other side.
Okay. You open it, and you can quickly, you're immediately assaulted with the smell of solder and flesh. Ooh. And yeah, you open it, and it's a very large room. It's another squarish room, 60 by 60 this time, so it's about 3 times larger than the rooms you've been in. It is not the same room you had entered in.
Yeah.
Smells like the old Duke's barbecue.
Solder.
So against the far, what order to describe this? So against the nearest wall to you, right to your left, Mr. Person Man, you see a heap of clothes and equipments of all sorts and for different body types and sizes. And there's on the opposite end of you, against the large wall that takes up the entire wall, is this massive screen that's displaying the sky, presumably above this structure. And you can see the simulacrum above you and this deep purple-green haze down. So simulacrum is pumping radiation above you. There's a large pillar in the center of the room with a bunch of cables and wires and things jutting out of it, running up the length of it. Almost all the ceiling panels are missing. The ceiling's about 20 feet high here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of, it's all exposed wires that are dangling down from the missing ceiling sections. And within those wires, you can see dozens of creatures harnessed in. And you see these wires like wrapped around them and plugged into like their spine and into like their exposed brains. And there's a large squid-like creature with too many eyes sitting on this floating sphere. And it was busying itself plunging a exposed wire into the brains of one of these creatures above you.
I'm going to tap the ear.
Yes?
Mr. Person Man's going to walk over to the squidgy, many-eyed creature that's going around. Hello.
Okay. Before I give an answer to that, Zach or is Burzo or Triskelion doing anything? You can obviously see
I believe
as well.
I believe this is what is known as a captive audience, Your Majesty.
God.
What's that? Then I turn back to the two robots and I say, look, you've done me a good favor here. If you'd like to enter into my service, I will accept you. Would you like to come with us?
Master command previously accepted. Commissioning accepted. I can't believe you actually cracked an organ code. They're in your service. If you want them, you have to write them down as assets.
I 100% write them. Am I writing them down as resources then? Is that what's happening?
Yep.
And do they have, what are their names again? Or am I just naming them
Well,
now?
one is Old Brassies, obviously.
The old brassies.
You can tickle the old brassies.
And the other one is Angriest Roomba.
Angriest Roomba, that's right.
Not spelled at all like you want, but...
Zach, or what's Burzo doing?
Yeah. Just trying to ascertain these creatures that are captive and being plugged into. Do they seem to be suffering? Are we watching some like vivisection experiment, or are we watching some recuperative like healing process going on?
Yeah. So I think since you're a quantum psychologist, you can probably attune to that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So you notice when the squid-like creature plunged the wire into the one's brain, there was obvious panic on its visage before it happened, but after it happened, there was like blank, middle distance stare type thing going on. So it may be difficult. It's difficult to tell. I guess the only impression you had was that there was a lot of hesitation going into it.
Clearly an anesthetic outcome, but perhaps not the most diligent bedside care. Excuse me, sir. Are you doing your utmost for the care of your patients here?
Okay. And sorry, Joe, what was Mr. Person's band question again?
Oh, no question. He was just hello.
Oh, getting attention. Okay.
But he has the translator up in case he needs to translate squid.
Okay. And a squid-like creature rotates on its sphere and moves down towards you. You can see some of the eyes are focused on Mr. Person Man, and some of the other ones are focused on Burzo. And you hear two voices at once, and they're indiscernible. They're really just high-pitched squeals and screeches. But the little person in the ear runs back and grabs a book and comes back to the ear and goes, "It's not happy."
What would make
I see you were trained
happy?
in the exasperanda because I didn't need your help to determine that. Well done.
And he flips through your page and goes, and then the other thing responds, and then he translates to you, for you to assimilate. I think assimilate is the word.
Please no.
And then there's no audible response, but the little whirring gadgets on the end of the tentacles start like fidgeting and maneuvering themselves.
Uh-oh.
At this point, Triskelion has arrived at the door to this room. And looks
Thanks
down,
for joining.
looks down at old Brassy and says, "You may announce me." As if he is bestowing upon old Brassy the highest honor he can think of.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you haven't like programmed him to be who you are.
No, that's fine. Whatever he does is okay, and I will always accept. However I am introduced, I am satisfied.
Okay. Enter user 03.
Yes, one of the many faces of user 03, as we've established. Triskelion Brimar, 23rd Duchess of Ranch, in exile.
User 3.
User 3, I guess. Yes.
And Berserk
Master user 3. That's a retcon on my end. Master user.
Master user 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the tentacle orb starts descending upon you, and it lets out a bellowing screech. And
that's hardly protocol, my lord.
What does the little ear guy do? Just
he closes that thing really fast.
Damn.
And so since you weren't able to prevent it from doing what it was going to do, and it did it anyways, you're all taking it. So you're all hit with this blast of oral damage, I suppose. So I guess you could just put, eardrum damage or something similar, whatever you think is relevant, if your character has eardrums or not.
Yeah.
And that would go underneath just basically notes, right?
But under your resources. It goes under resource track.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And we're only limited to there's a change in number at 7.
Yeah, so that's if you end up leveling up your resources.
Okay,
right? So you can only have right now up to 7.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get anything like a condition, this is a condition. If you get a condition that you don't have room for, then you're going to become incapacitated.
Gotcha.
However, we can. Yeah.
That's fine. I just want to make sure that's slot 7 for me, baby.
I think Berzo doesn't quite have eardrums, but the resonating frequency of that screech has produced in me a very uncomfortable sheen. It's gone from being a normal, like squishy ball thing to now it's kind of like bleh, and kind of like getting slippery and gross, and it makes me extremely uncomfortable. I'm shedding part of my water weight.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I have eardrums, but I was a little bit further away. So really, it just means that Triskelion's going to talk even louder and constantly complain about the fact that he doesn't really know if he could really classify himself as an audiophile right now. And he's really very concerned about losing his audiophile status.
Yeah.
Because he's always considered himself something of an audiophile.
Yeah.
Mr. Person Man's eyes will crack and just start leaking just a little bit of
Awesome.
the water from inside. When do we as players react to any of this?
Yeah, and so that's what his action was, and so it looks like its appendages are starting to flail out and spread out, so it looks like he's getting into like an attack stance of some kind. And you can see some of the bodies, some of the things in harnesses are starting to slowly descend from the ceiling, but they're moving very, very slowly.
Yeah.
Now it's to you guys.
Okay. I've got those welding fingertips. I'm going to start cutting loose any of the animals it's got jacked in. Just start walking away from it and snip, 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 just to break them loose to kind of disrupt its network.
Okay. Yeah. So as they're ascending, they have like a harness that like straps them in, and the harness is what's lowering them. And then they have the cables that are like protruding out of their brains.
I'm going for the cables, but I don't know. Are any of them low enough for me to get to already, or are they still too high up?
They're too high up at the moment.
Okay.
Angry Hastrumba, attack! I would play you a fighting dirge, but I'm worried that my loss of audio file status means my perfect pitch may have been affected. I'm going to command Angry Hastrumba into combat.
Awesome.
And I'm going to speak to the bound entities being lowered. You will never achieve greatness if you simply acquiesce. You must fight back if you are to free your minds and come to the truth.
An existential assault.
Yeah. So are you doing this on like a quantum level, or is this just like a verbal type thing?
That's a good point. My motivation is to create strife. I think that this is part of the general exasperanda philosophy of trying to encourage people to free themselves mentally, philosophically, by questioning and sort of fighting back at things in general. But I think it has an actual logistical benefit here.
Mm-hmm.
And it could fall under either the rubric of the quantum psychologist or the general create strife.
Yeah, it could be both. You can get advantages from both.
Could also be both.
Yep.
You want that to be a social or a mental?
I think social is good.
Okay.
Social is more relevant. And then for yours, for Triskelium, it's going to be a mental, but so it's going to be from his stat. Okay. So
what is Angry Hastrumba's stat?
So it's going to be so what happens is the fans start revving high, and then you see this like the base of the trunk like hose like engorge itself, and then it just like dislodges something out of its trunk.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's a D6. It's D6 physical.
Does he have any traits we can pull on? I rolled a 5, so it's a yes.
Yeah. The actual trait itself of him being able to do that applies. So yeah, it would be one advantage.
I mean, the best I could roll. I rolled another 5, so
right,
so 5.
What did Burzo get?
I got a 6.
All right.
I rolled with 2 advantage and got a 6, 5, and a 3.
Awesome. And then Mr. Person Man.
Okay, well, my initial plan wasn't going to plan out. On the pillar, are there any data jacks?
Yeah.
I'm going to try and I'm so glad it's not like a system where I have to roll dodge or whatever, but I'm going to try and get around this thing and plug my fingers into the data jacks and just start disrupting anything I can. Just randomly deleting BIOS, moving stuff around. I'll click and drag this into here,
Editing the wiki.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to edit the
Move
wiki.
it all to the trash.
So
Yep.
okay.
Recycle bin, click. I want to upgrade you to Windows 11 without reshutting down.
All right. So yeah, give me a mental for that. and you get an advantage since you have those different attachments for your limbs.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I get it. I roll the first time, and because it's advantage, I add the next roll.
You roll an extra die. You don't add them together. You just take the highest.
Got it. Okay, well, I took the highest, and that's a 10.
Wow.
So,
all right.
yes, and.
So, Burzo, you get to roll 2 more dice.
All right. Same social.
Yep, same one.
D6s. Okay. 3 and a 1.
Okay, so still 6.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you start clicking and dragging, copy and pasting everything, downloading, clicking all the links. Hidden Valley Ranch commercials start popping up everywhere for some reason. They must have been listening to you. And so the vacuum dislodges this big mass of this goopy, oily blob, and it looks like there's bits of shrapnel and broken pieces of panel lodged in there, and it hurls towards the tentacled orb flying thing, and it crashes into one of his eyes, and it lets out another screech. And Burzo, as you're talking to, you can see you can feel through your quantum psychology that a lot of the beings that are starting to descend, like it's what you're saying is emanating with them, and you can almost their resistance is palpable. You can almost feel it. And Mr. Person Man, your hacking is probably helping with that. So you're seeing like a bunch of the wires and stuff hanging from the ceiling. A lot of them are starting to like psst, psst, and some of the creatures that are still dangling up there start to like jostle in their harnesses above.
Yeah, I'm a toddler in Linux on this thing.
However, the thing, tentacle monstrosity, is quite large, and it's hovering kind of between the 3 of you. And so it starts lashing out with all of its limbs and appendages and little sharp implements at the ends of them. And you each get slashed and diced. And so that applies to your resource track.
All right. So I'm assuming Old Brassy and Angry Hestrumba were 2 resources. Is that correct? Like a resource each?
Yep, they're a resource
so
each.
that's going to put me at 8, which is over my limit.
Yep. And so, yeah. Yep.
So does that mean that we have to trim one off, or we lose one of our other resources or advantages?
Nope. So if if there was like an evasive maneuver some way, or you did an action that could help you prevent that attack from happening, then we could have used it as an effort to attack off one of your resources or something. But since that didn't happen,
you're saying telling a Roomba to attack and humming "Free your mind and the rest will follow" is not a form of defense in this world?
Wow.
I think it's a potent form of offense.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably true.
But
they say the best offense is a good offense, and you should really practice your defensive fundamentals in the Hidden Valley. That's an old saying we have.
It's on the back of the bottle.
It's on the back of the bottle. At the bottom. If you look under the cap, there's no hidden sayings here. That's not a thing we do. That's other people.
Fair.
So I got sliced and diced.
Yep. Yeah. So you're down, and so that slice and dice is going to be a trait. So it means like a almost permanent-ish type damage situation. So while you think of what you think that could be, what's the damage look like for Burzo and Mr. Person Man?
Well, I think that yeah, I now have a lot of little tiny cuts, and much like dough, like when it has a skinned consistency, and when you slice it, it kind of pulls apart. I do that a little bit where it's impacted me, and that puts me up to a capped 7 resources now.
Okay.
I'd like to. Is this squid creature you said is riding on top of that floating sphere?
Yep, that's
So
right.
it's exposed.
Yep.
Yeah, I would like to remind it that violence is the last resort of the feeble-minded, and I'm feeling pretty feeble right now. And I want to point my retractable 20-foot pole at it.
15 foot.
Sorry, my retractable 15-foot pole at it, and basically let loose like square in the forehead of
Next bar fight I get into, I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mr. Person Man?
It lashes and my tracksuit comes off in shreds and tatters. So now I'm just a naked mech, and you can see through where the joints are, all the little water tunnels where all the crayfish are. And as it all comes off, the crayfish are just shocked and exposed. They're just stunned because they thought this ruse was really working and no one would know. And they're so horrified that all of them squeal and wiggle off to try and hide behind hinges and little areas. So I'm going to be stunned for next round. I will not be able to.
I don't know. I don't know if stunned. It's definitely slowing your reflexes and abilities.
Slowing my reflexes. Okay. Well, yeah. I lost the tracksuit, so that's a resource that's gone.
Well, you can keep it on there. You can keep it on there. We can just say that it's sliced off. But
it's now
don't take it off the track.
Now a track loincloth. There's just
yeah.
Well,
it's still going to occupy that slot.
I'm not that anatomically accurate, really.
Okay. Fashion doesn't base itself on anatomical correctness.
So it's a shredded tracksuit.
One little crawdad.
Gotcha. So it went from like Western Russian tracksuit to Georgian tracksuit. And okay, yeah. So, but all my little crawdads are just freaking out. They're terrified because this was supposed to be. They're professional scientists.
Yeah, no, I understand. You caught them with their lab coat down.
Yeah.
Okay, so Burzo is reaching out and touching it with his 15-foot pole. What does Mr. Person Man Triskelion do? So the robot will keep attacking on its own.
Yes, he will. I know my retinue will, even beyond my death, they will enact on my behest.
But the
Ronin, if you die, it's going to be a Ronin Roomba.
But the organ does recognize you as Master User 03. So since you're Master User, it can attempt to resuscitate you to an extent.
Okay.
But you won't be able to do anything this round.
No, that's fine. I assumed. I have written sliced and dice under resource, and then written julienne and crudité under traits, and so the long-term impact is already recorded for this scarification.
All right, awesome. Mr. Person Man?
Okay, now, like I said, my guy is, well, the collective is going to not move as quickly, but I'm still jacked into the pillar. I'm going to try and, hopefully in conjunction with my amoeba friend, convince or let the other allies that are ascending down turn on their squid master.
Okay.
So I'm going to try and get them on our side.
Sounds good.
So what would that be? Would that be a mental as well?
Yep, that's a mental.
Okay.
And then for Burzo, yours is a physical.
All right. Oh boy. Well, I'm going to need to apply some sort of. So I've got one.
Yeah. So you can, like I said, when you do effort, you can apply. What would be the condition from the effort to your other assets.
Yeah. I'm also trying to figure out what I'm going to use as calculate my advantage. So I've got my retractable pole, 15 foot.
14 foot.
Oh dear.
I'm kidding.
I think that in this case, I don't know that my motivation of create strife really applies. So I think it's just the two dice for the effort. Yeah, this has been a trusty pull, but clearly it was not the highest quality, and I'd be willing to let it continue like snapping off another small section to get this done.
Oh, sounds good.
So I'll roll with 1 advantage and re-roll the highest number die again.
Yep.
So I rolled a 4 and a 3.
All right.
And so for my second roll on top of the 4, I'll take a 2. So that's a 6.
Awesome. Sweet. That's a success.
And it's now
Good
a
deal.
10-foot retractable pole.
Yeah. Perfect. What did Mr. Person make it?
Well, I was going to ask real quick. I rolled pretty well, but could I put effort to try and boost it further?
Yep, you can.
I am going to, while doing that, because some of what my amoebic philosophical friend was saying was getting through to them. I'm going to try and, with my voice modulator, repeat the words he had said, but in the Duchess's voice.
Okay. All right. I can dig it.
It's the auto tune. This is the auto tune.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're using it. What is it? It's a Vo something. We were just talking Vocaloid. Is it a Vocaloid? Yeah. Is that like a sampling, like a song sampled? Yeah.
It's the thing from Scream 3.
It's the thing from Scream 3, a vocoder from Scream 3.
Oh, okay.
Be careful, my friend. Impersonating royalty is possibly a treasonous activity.
But it does cause strife. So what would that extra die be? Would it be another D10?
It's the same. Yep, it's the same one.
Got
You
it.
just roll it.
Okay, so the first roll I done was a 9.
So with the effort though, there has to come with a condition, right? Something.
Oh yeah, okay. The condition will be I'll blow up my voice modulator.
Awesome, excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
I rolled another 9, so that's 2 9s.
So
but I lost my voice
18?
modulator, so it cost so it's 18.
Wow.
To emulate the dulcet tones of the duchy, often blows out your vocal. It's not an uncommon thing.
It's a voice too pure for mere electronics, Your Majesty.
And the thing is, I picture like the Duchess
You're
laying
having
on the
this
ground.
conversation.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm horribly scarred up, but yes, making commentary the entire time.
Yeah.
This is in character time.
She's just going, no. He's just going, no. Oh man. All right, excellent. So Burzo lashes out and extends the 15-foot pole, and it jabs and protrudes into the body of this octopus thing on this orb. And it snaps off and dislodges. You hear another screech from it, and this black eye core starts pooling out of its body and dripping down on the floor. And at the same time, Mr. Person Man is continuing to hack the mainframe, as it were. And you can see the harnessed bodies that are descending from the ceiling start moving towards the octopus-like creature. And between their fingertips, you can see their hands start to arc with electricity. And as they get closer, it arcs towards it and zaps it, and it lets out another deafening screech. And for your success on Mr. Person Man is you're also able to copy and paste indefinitely, like infinity, towards like the program for the orb that is flying on, right? So it just goes and like smashes into the pillar itself.
Oh, sweet.
And then it crashes on the ground, and the octopus, like its limbs are starting to flail and things like that, but it is not having a good time, as it were. And as this happens, and you let out the same speech that the Triskelium, the Duchess of Ranch, had let out. Triskelium, you come conscious as the little, as your ye old Brassies injects you with some type of stimulant.
Restorative.
Yeah, restorative stimulant.
A secret blend of herbs and spices, one might say.
Yeah. So your assets, your resource track's still maxed out, but you're up.
So my resource track. So I was over it. Am I taking?
Yeah. So
go ahead and walk me through it.
Yeah. So you were at 7. So instead of listing the sliced and diced asset there, that condition.
Yes.
you write that as a trait, which you did, but
Which I
you
did.
don't put it in both. You don't put it in both spots.
Gotcha. So I'm going to delete sliced and diced. I am now but it's a very good look overall. I'm now Julianne and cruditated. It's very obvious I've faced battle and overcome and survived. It's got the scars have quite a cutting effect, if I do say so myself, and I do regularly.
Yeah, right.
From this point on,
right. It's a good conversation starter, is what it comes down to.
Yes, I used to be quite the audiophile, but now I've just got these handsome scars.
It's like a syringe to the knee. This thing is wailing on the floor, and these zomboids are descending from the ceiling and starting to zap it.
So if I was going to metagame, if I was going to let my character and player knowledge bleed together, I would want to manage down some of my resources a little bit to give myself some space. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a constant balancing act between what you have with you and what you anticipate having to deal with in the future. Yep. So it's to you guys.
Is this thing still a threat?
Likely not. At least not physically.
I walk up to it and I say, "Few have bested me in combat, sir, but you are one of them. I'll offer you this. Would you like to follow me?"
Burzo and Mr. Person Man, what are you guys doing?
I tap the
door
on Mr. Person Man's forehead, and His Majesty would like to offer terms of surrender and invite this gentle creature into his retinue.
Yes, repeat after me, but be careful. My pitch may not be perfect. I used to be a little bit of an audiophile. Right now, I'm having a hard time modulating my range. But tell it that few have bested me in combat, and since it has, I would offer it a place in my retinue.
Do you actually repeat that, or do you just go with what you originally said?
No, I say that thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got you. You were directing him.
I was directing it to the person to then translate.
Right. Okay. Mr. Person Man, you can obviously see them talking, but you can hear them.
There's nothing I can offer. Yeah. So while they're doing that, the little door, the ear is open. You'll see this psss, like a hissing come out from the neck, and little crayfish will come out, but they've got little water apparatuses and little like scuba gear and little welding torches, and they'll start like putting together where his eyes were. And they'll use like the bits and pieces of cut tracksuit to try and bind where other parts were damaged. They're going to do a little quick repair scheme while these guys handle the squid.
Yep, that's a good enough action, and it's not an immediate thing you have to do right now. So I don't think you need a roll for that. But yeah, so next sequence, you can have that bit repaired.
Okay, cool. Cracked eyes no longer cracked. But they can't repair the voice modulator. That thing is cooked.
Yep. So the little person on the microphone lets out a series of squeaks and bleep laps. And the thing which it introduces itself to the little person says, Flitzendegoth, will accept a stalemate.
Yes, that's
and allow you passage.
That's fine. It doesn't want to come with us.
And then goes back. It will allow you to come with it.
That doesn't make any sense.
Not all entities can be reasoned with, Your Majesty.
When we leave, the other things it's been jacking into are going to probably kill it.
A fitting end for this foul fiend. Yes, if it will not accept my offer fully and graciously, as it should, then we shall leave it here to its own devices.
So it lets out a series of screech back and forth, and then the miniature man says, "So will you be accepting voyage or not?"
Accepting voyage, you say? What's a voyage?
This vessel is routed to the simulacrum.
Vessel is routed to the That doesn't sound like the Duchy of Ranch. I know for certain it wasn't on the simulacrum. That word that we all say about the thing in the sky.
Do we know, Your Majesty, that that's not actually the resting place of the ranch?
You know, now that I think about it, I guess you're right. I don't know that. You know why? I've never been to the the thing in the sky. However, neither have any of the other duchy, and we've never found it. Perhaps you're right. You know, the more I think about it, the more convinced I am. We should go to the thing in the sky that is up there, and we should search it out. It's a good idea that I've had. Let us sally forth on this voyage.
I could be completely wrong, you know, but
God, we've all had that hotel guest.
The weird thing is, I can say simulacrum, but I cannot say it in that accent. That is the weird. That was 100% a real. Like, I don't know how to make that voice.
that's because the Duchess can't say it.
The Duchess can't say it. That's
being true to
legitimately
character.
like. That's a. Somebody the other was like, is it hard for you to get into character voices when you have to switch back and forth? It's like, no, it's hard for me to leave character voices. Like, I get stuck as that player. That's the character sometimes as a player. So yes, the Duchess agrees to go on a voyage to the place up above that we've never been to before.
All right. So unless you guys stop it, the creature starts prodding its tentacles back into the column that it crashed into, and the harnessed creatures that descended from the ceiling start mending it and, you know, pulling the 5-foot portion of pole out of its body, that kind of thing. And you feel a thrumming in your feet, and you hear a slight din or hum as the structure leaves off the earth and starts ascending towards the simulacrum.
Now, while that's happening, I'm getting my repairs. Can I check in that corner for clothing? Because I want to cover myself to maintain my scientific integrity.
Yeah, there's definitely clothing there. There's a bunch of awesome and weird things in there because all the creatures and stuff that are up in the ceiling are naked.
So I'm going to get a pair of Zeke Cabaricis and a wonderful blouse.
I'd like to find a bit of some sort of towel or other like lightweight absorbent cloth and just sort of like, you know, wipe myself down in this uncomfortable sheen and like wring it out and like, bring that, you know, drink that liquid back up, and it should be on the inside of me, not on the outside of me. I have to maintain pressure equilibrium.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good repair heal action.
You hear as the hum shifts as we travel through the atmosphere, you just hear the Duchess going like like trying to toe match, and just every once in a while whispering, I used to be an audiophile. I don't understand what's happening. My perfect pitch has been compromised.
Yeah.
Little known thing. I don't know how to whisper as a player. My spouse has told me on numerous occasions that what I think is whispering is just soft talking. And I was like, I don't know the difference. I mean, literally, I don't know the difference between whispering and soft talking, but apparently practically I don't either.
Yeah. So I think what it would be is the scene is the cubic, or not the cubic, but the structure leaving the earth and ascending towards the simulacrum, you know, the word that we all say regularly. And it's like panning out, and you just hear the Duchess like in a very loud
Dun
humming
dun
voice.
dun dun.
As you
Yes,
ascend
it's
to the
100% the exact, legally distinct but very similar song to Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, I think that's the session, guys. Great session.
Awesome.
That was fun.
Awesome. Let's do our reaction roll. As soon as I find that thing. There we go. Reaction roll is a live stream within a live stream. It's our chance to sit down with the creator of a game that we just played, talk to them about our experience playing that game. Today, we are grokking Grok. We are learning to encounter and experience Grok in such a way that we no longer have to think about it to effortlessly enact it. Grok is a game that is live on Kickstarter right now, and we just played it with the creator. Lester, why don't you tell people who joined us late, just joined us, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, but most importantly, tell us about Grok.
Yeah, so my name's Lester. I'm on the interwebs as Lestortus everywhere, so you can find me on Twitter and Facebook and yada yada. But yeah, so I created Grok. It's a gonzo adventure roleplay game. Takes a lot of tenets and philosophy in RPG design from OSR, but also narrative games, and kind of meshes the two together to really let players and the DM make a really strange world, obviously. Yeah, so that's Grok.
Awesome. I had a blast playing, but let's meet some of our other players. Let's find out what they liked or thought about the game. Let's start with somebody who hopped on because they were talking about how cool the game looked over in the Necropolis Discord server. That's Zach. Zach, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, but also tell us what it was like to play Grok.
Yeah, hey everyone, Zach Burr, ZACBIR. That's my moniker everywhere, and happens to be my name. I was a big fan of what I saw on the Kickstarter campaign page. The artwork is absolutely sick. I love it. I'm a big fan of science fantasy gonzo settings. I really like the anti-canon approach that you've taken here with the simple caveat of it should be plausible. It made character creation super fun, and the system is really elegant. I played a lot of the what you listed as inspiration. I like the sort of fate aspect of bringing aspects into play, and I'm a big fan of the attribute dice approach. Sort of Kids on Bike and Savage Worlds, I think, does a similar kind of thing. It's a good way of putting some actual hard mechanical caps on capabilities. The fact that we have to actually expend some effort in order to try and get a success when you've got an attribute that is less capable has a good narrative balance that I really thought was cool. I love the tables that you had in there. A lot of really weird, fun stuff to play with. I'm looking forward to seeing more of the world expressed that way. Yeah, had a great time.
Love it. Do you have any questions you want to ask Lester?
More. Question mark? More?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the campaign pans out and how the final product ships. So judging by the artwork in there, it looks a little bit like some Mignola, a little bit some Mobius. I feel like both of those offer up a lot of heavy tone and mood that probably influenced a little bit. Your idea?
Yeah, no, you're really right on the mark too. And so I happen to the artwork is done by Mattias Bureau, and he goes by Doodle Skelly everywhere, Instagram and Twitter. So all of his work is excellent, and it's all in that same vein as far as aesthetic, and it's just fantastic work. And So early on in developing the game, I ended up securing a few pieces, and those are like my driving force. Like, I need to finish this game to do this like artwork justice and make this happen. And so, yeah, it was definitely an inspiration. It was definitely something that was keeping the fire lit to make me finish this game. And the part of what I really like about the artwork and the aesthetic in general is that it's weird, and there's a lot of ambiguity there, but it's enough to like really set you there. You know what I mean? So it's enough to give you a framework of what's probably there, but not so defined that it tells you the whole story. And that's kind of how I approached, like, you know, with the random tables and things like that. I don't enjoy going through, you know, RPG books and having to know all the lore to be able to, you know, divulge it to players and stuff like that. I think it should just come with the game, with the experience. So that's kind of how I approached it as far as the artwork selection and how I wanted to express the world in the game with the random tables and just implying the setting in the system of the game itself.
I love it. It also, the art has like a super strong like Wizards vibe to it. Also too, I don't know if it's just like the guy riding the giant creature right up front, but it's got good crossover vibes for that also too. That's awesome. William, give people who you are, what you do, where they find you online, but tell us what it was like to play Grok.
I'm William Galaney. I'm a writer, novelist, do some narrative design work. You can find me just looking at my name, Galaney, Galaini. When it comes to playing games, first off, I've jammed a lot, and I've grown up around the communal storytelling methods of gaming like this. So I know a lot of people have groups they've gamed with for 10, 20, 30 years. So a lot of that trust is already baked in. So I think the system would really excel among that tight-knit group of people who've just perfected being with each other for communal storytelling. What really compelled me about Grok is, aside from the interrobang, was I enjoy the game most when things go wrong. And it seems like when a lot of other games that are combat heavy or rules heavy, when things go wrong, the game isn't as much fun. You miss, or you have to run away. Where with this, if things go wrong, that's where the fun really kicks in. Like, what do you wind up having to sacrifice to maintain your overall goal? I also like that learning how to GM it is not a part-time job. That you can just daydream about it while commuting to work, or, you know, in the shower about, oh, wouldn't it be crazy if all these little crawfish were a scientific community piloting around an aquarium mech to try and pass off as a human. And that's something that I could not fathom that in any other setting. I couldn't even see it in any other science fiction setting. So this was just perfect. Maybe Rifts, but Rifts would be a part-time job. So that's what I really like. I also like that I can easily ask questions and not look like an idiot. So whenever I play like another system, I'll be like, wait, what's the grapple check for that? And then I do this, and, you know, I find the square root of this number. And I don't know if you guys remember the old Aliens RPG that came out, like a table with the spreadsheet with the decimal point.
Mm-hmm.
No. I have limited brain space. So I would rather be caught up in the theater of the mind with all the craziness. I don't want to have to worry about the minis or 5-foot distance or anything of that nature. And so that really compelled me to Grok.
Awesome. Love it. Any questions that you want to ask?
From here, so if you've got like the main resource book, Les, what would be, and you're obviously not going to do the Wizards thing where you crank out a book every month, etc. But what other materials would go along with this? Like, I know sometimes like people like to have just scratch paper for basic theater of the mind, like draw a circle. This is the room you're in. You're here. This thing is here, etc. But how would you incorporate that into Grok?
Yeah, so with the Kickstarter, a few stretch goals were achieved that allowed me to expand a few things. So one is there's like, you know, printed character sheets and DM sheets, which are pretty straightforward. Another one is pretty much a note card with awesome artwork, and it uses a dot grid ISO arrangement. So you can do you could do squares, you could do isometric drawings, you could do hexes. So it's really, or you could do straight line note writing. So so it will facilitate whatever type of note taking or play style you like. And as far as from here, I mean, kind of piggybacking what Zach was saying, is like more is aside from finding more excuses to get more art,
yeah.
is really expanding not just the tables, but the world and creature and character generators and tools to run the game effectively and apply more setting and craziness. So that's the goal. I was able to do some of that already and adding some content to this core book. But I think the next step from here is amassing a very sleek and effective set of tools to be able to run the game and generate it for you, or at least be a really good set of inspirational tools.
Yeah, it's I loved it. I had a blast. It's always fun. Like, different people will use the term gonzo in different ways, and it oftentimes means different things. The only other game system I can think of where you could play as sentient crawdad suit colony scientific survey team is Troika, right? Like, you can make a Troika background that would be that and do that. And actually, like, if you ever ask me, is there a good system that you could translate Troika characters to and from easily, I would have historically said no. Now I could say, like, oh yeah, Grok. Like, you could easily take what's on the average Troika background, slide it over to Grok between resources and the things and supplies and against traits and resources as your assets. You could and you could go back the other way just as easily. But I think it does what that does well. I think the other major thing I love about Troika that I think is so stymieing to people, so I want to say it for Grok also too, is people are always like, well, how would you run this the first time? Like, people don't always know how to just take in, okay, here's what all your characters just said they were, and here's what's going to happen. The biggest answer is, don't worry about that. That's the player's job, right? Like, your job is to wait till they say, I want to take my ranch hand off and screw it onto the end of this 15-foot pole in order to pull the thing closed. And you go, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. That makes sense. Like, here's what you're going to roll for me. I was not ready. Like, it's really funny. Something that you do very well here that I would say Troika does not do, and that I was not prepared for, is the pseudo lethality of the system, right? Like, I was not prepared for quick character death, though I came to it on my own terms as we went through, which I think is just such an interesting part of resource management that is a very good OSR feel. The concept of this filling up and you having too many resources and your encumbrance isn't overloaded. Now, if something bad happens, you're just dead. And so it is in some ways, the most intense form of encumbrance rules you could ever create. And that's, you're carrying one too many things and it killed you. And I love that. Like, that was such a fun discovery in the middle of play. And my question is, how common is it for people to just pick up too many things and then die all of a sudden? And how is that? Like, we were in an actual play, and I don't know if we handled it 100% the normal way, because you definitely had old Brazzy save me. Is that normally what would happen? Is there something else that would typically happen? Would I just typically be rolling up the Dutchy 24th of Ranch in Exile, or what would happen?
Yeah, so I guess I'll go back to a few comments first before I get to that. Is that with the resource management aspect of things, it's a constant balancing act of how much do I want to keep on my person that I'm ready for a bunch of situations, and what can I take when things are thrown at me, right? And so if you do overload yourself, then it's going to be more lethal for you. And so it's not necessarily easy for you to just, I'm carrying too many things, something whacks me and I'm gone. It's, I'm carrying too many things, or too many things happen wrong to me, and I didn't make an action to prevent something happening to me. Now the consequences, I'm incapacitated.
Yeah.
Right. And so that kind of played out in your situation, is where I think it was a good call to, make the robot attack for you, but there wasn't something preventing, the octopus thing from lashing out at you. And so, so that was just so that's the other thing is that I wanted to do, is not just make it about resource management, but also put the actions, the consequences in the player's hands, not just this is a repercussion for a bad roll, right? I want it to make sense narratively and for it to be mostly in your hands. So it isn't a feel bad moment. It's this makes sense.
Yeah.
My characters.
Well, one of the things I really liked about that, or like about this as a mechanic, is it makes more concrete. So rather than abstracting, you get games like Fate or a lot of the newer like Cubicle 7 games have various meta currencies that you get to deal with, fate points and things and they're meant to be true currencies that are exchanged between the game master and the player through the course of play, but they all live at this real meta level, and treating them in a concrete fashion like this, where they're things that you take on either like mentally or physically or inventorially, but that really makes them act as fungible currencies in play. None of your possessions become super precious or things that you have to like latch onto. It lets you really treat things as expendable and depletable, consumable, and in a way that flows really naturally. And I don't know. I thought that was a really cool aspect. I like that.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a really good insight too. Another game that I can think of where you could pull this amount of gonzo out of thin air is something like Fate. And one of my gripes with that is the upper level, consciousness of the game, right? You're exchanging this currency to make these things happen, and there can be a disconnect there, or it can pull you out of the action of your character. And so that was another intention. It was just keep it at the character level and let it all work in the same system. So yeah.
And I think one of the challenges with Fate that this does very well, and this is, I think, the concept, an issue with any game that doesn't have established canon. And obviously for Fate, you can pick up any of the books that give you a canon and a setting and all that kind of stuff, and a little bit more guidance to solve this, is kind of like what is anchoring the anti-canon reality that you're doing and the setting that you've created. And I would say the structure of Grok, I think, gives a lot more clarity to a set of finite things that you're doing, and having some of those be, like I said, motivations and stuff, some of those being actual physical resources, or at least conceptual resources, gives them a tangibility and the ability to grab onto them mentally, to grok, in essence, them in a more precise way that Fate, I don't feel like, does. It doesn't give you the hard edges to things. And so having a little bit more of an implied setting, as well as having those broken down a little bit more structurally, I think sings really, really well at the table and kind of opens that up. The other thing is people use Fate for the wrong things all the time, and
you're right.
But I mean, that's a table question, not a system question. And so, I super enjoyed it.
Thanks. Yeah, and going back to what you're saying about the one of the potential downsides of Troika being that it's hard to be grounded and know, like, what are we gonna do with this, weird amalgamation of characters. Is I wanted the setting to be able to, pull anything out and play, but also to give you a baseline, give you something to land on that makes sense, right? Yeah. So I have, so I tried to structure the world to balance those two things.
That's awesome. Yeah, because you could run Tomb of Horrors with this; it'd be great.
Right.
Right. I had a blast. Any other thoughts or questions?
I loved it. I want to see what's on these islands.
I do too.
Like, I want to see where the ship was going. I'm like, okay, that was a great session 1. Win session 2.
Love it. Zach, any final thoughts?
I'm looking forward to getting it in my hands. I like what I've seen so far, and I think it's gonna occupy a nice place on my shelf. I'm super psyched.
Thanks, Zach.
I had a blast. Just so people know, it's live on Kickstarter right now. There's been a link right below all of our beautiful faces this entire time. It's also in the descriptions. ttrpg.link /GrokKS will take you right over to the Kickstarter page. Yes, Gorgor Big, the 1,000 islands. Also, Gorgor Big, subscriber prime here, because I forgot I had subscriptions now on my channel that I had turned that on, and Gorgor came through. Also captured the first clip that we've had since we did any of that and posted it to me. And it is me singing a jaunty tune. So that'll live in infamy also too for this. But how many more days are left in the Kickstarter?
I think it's almost 2 weeks.
Cool. So 14
I've
days
been trying
left.
to not check it every 10 minutes, which I'm kind of failing at. It's at 14 days, 2 weeks.
Awesome. 14 days. You're funded already. You've got plenty of space in
fun.
front of you.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see. How far Grok goes. It's a phenomenal system. We'll look forward to sharing this video with folks, as well as the clip of me singing a jaunty tune. But with that said, a couple things we've got coming up that people should know about. Tomorrow, we have 2 interviews. The first interview we have, if I can get the things to doobly-doo right. Nope, I don't have it set up. The first interview we have is with Jay Dragon of Possum Creek Games and Lily, who is one of the artists for the upcoming Yezeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is the game I have been most excited about for 2022. It is a tremendous legacy RPG. What does that mean? Come back tomorrow, find out. We'll also talk about some of the Zemo projects that are happening right now that we're excited about. Then in the evening, I'm going to be sitting down with some of the team members from Tiny Tome, which is an anthology of 51-page RPGs. They sent me this great preview copy that also has a fun comment from the last thing that they made by me in the front of it. I think they're doing some really good anthology work, getting a bunch of creators together to create a whole. It's also another Zemo project, but we're sitting down with a few members of their team tomorrow night to talk about that project as well as other games that those people find exciting that are happening right now in Zemo. If you're like, what is a Zemo, Tony? Head over to zinemonth.com. That's being organized by Fairlandy Studio and some other folks, but it's a grassroots efforts to help support people who are creating zine-length games like Grok and a number of other ones across any number of platforms. Then on Saturday, we're going to be sitting down and playing Pirate Borg, which is a standalone Merkborg system. It introduces a 5th stat, all new classes. It's a completely different setting, but it's piracy on the high seas with a lot of the same grim, dark realities and gorgeous layout of Merkborg. So I'm very excited to explore that system with the creator as well. And then on Monday night, we are going to be playing Himbos. I'm actually going to be GMing that one, which we don't normally do on stream, but we're doing it as part of a 2-part series. 1 on TPK on Saturday night. TPK role-playing our greatest enemy and our most passionate lover. TPK role-playing's top shelf show with Madigan is doing part 1, and then I'll be running part 2 on Monday night. And then next week we'll have a bunch more interviews. We'll have more games we're streaming, including Chris Bissett's Merkborg adventure in the Blue Light, which is tremendous, especially since in the UK they don't know what the Blue Light special is because Kmart doesn't exist there. And when I made that joke in chat, it bombed horribly. And then I said, y'all don't know what I'm talking about, do you? So if you want to know more about any or all of those things, please check them out. If you want to support us, you can sub. You could also head over to ttrpg.link /13h and help support 13 Hunters. It's a system neutral anthology of bounty hunters. They'd be great for dropping into Grok. They're science fantasy. They're absolutely amazing, and they're made by Nuclear Obelisk, who designed one of my favorite projects of Zine Quest 3. So I said, I'd love to help you host this. It's still in the process of funding and could absolutely use your help. Again, that's at ttrpg.link /13h. Gorger Biggs already backed that and backed Grok while we were watching, which is great to hear if you're watching this later and you back it. Let us know over on social media at +1exp.com. Until next time, I have never figured out a good way to end these things, so we're just going to wave at the screen until I take us off air. Good night, everybody. Thanks, Lester. Thanks, everybody, for coming and playing with us.
Thanks, Lester. Thanks, William. Thanks, Tony. Glad to be here.